This is the Glock 24. It is the 40 Smith & Wesson version of the Glock 17L or the Glock 40. Now, this is a Gen 2 version, so as you can see, it has no rail at the front, but like the Gen 5 versions, of which there isn't for the 24 but there is for the 17L, you have a flat grip. So obviously this is a Glock that has had work done to it. It is not a factory Glock 24 Gen 2. So what has been done to it? Well, the most obvious one is the slide. The slide work was done by Black Box Customs, and you have front slide serrations and some recessed pockets, and that's about it in terms of the sides. Now the top has a cut for Primary Arms SLX RS10. Theoretically will fit any Dr. Noblex sight so long as it will fit within this square here. Now it also means that the rear sight was deleted, so there's no running irons on this. You're not running this in any kind of iron competition. This is an optics only gun. Now, the one thing on here that is basically stock is the slide catch. Slide catch is just a normal Gen 2 Glock slide catch. It's not even the extended one, but it works just fine. The mag release is, I can't remember the name of it. I'll try, if I remember it, I'll put it up on screen. It's basically just an extended mag release. The reason I have it is because it allows me to drop the mag without changing my grip too drastically, which I really like. However, you have to keep in mind that if you have a holster with this, which, give me 1 second. Like I was saying, if you have a holster that you want to use with this, you need to keep two things in mind. One, for the 24 or the 17Ls in general, it needs to be open-ended, because otherwise you're going to have to Dremel it out yourself. This thing is super long. And if you have a mag release that is super bumped up, you're going to have to make some cuts. But it all fits together, so holster use, keep that in mind. This magwell is just an eBay magwell. I don't even know the name of it. I just got a Glock magwell that works on the Gen 1 to 3s, and this is what I've used ever since. One thing to note, don't screw this in too hard, otherwise you're going to collapse the frame and you will find it difficult to load mags. So keep that in mind. Grip tape is just hockey tape, as I have on basically everything, because the Gen 2 grips are not grippy at all. They are super, super smooth, and the hockey tape helps just that ever little bit more. Also, for Canadian purposes, hockey tape is great for getting wet, so you don't have to worry about anything slipping, since hockey tape is designed for hockey stuff, and that very often will get wet from all the snow and the ice. So hockey tape is a great option if you can find it freely available in Canada. If you're in the southern states, the wetness shouldn't matter. Go for whatever grip tapes you want. Now, the trigger is just a trigger shoe. It is not anything special internally. It is literally just a trigger shoe. I believe it's the Killer Instincts Velocity trigger shoe. Clear? In terms of the trigger pull, it's very similar to a Glock one. It has a slightly less of a take-up, but the feeling of the pull itself is very similar to the feeling of a Glock pull. However, its main thing is the reset. The reset is very positive and a bit shorter than a standard Glock trigger. So if you can find this for pretty cheap, I think it's worth doing. I haven't had any problems related to this at all. This is definitely a cool upgrade that really doesn't even cost much and take much time. Now internally, nothing else is different, like I said, except for the guide rod. I just have a steel guide rod with a factory spring weight. Otherwise, it's just completely normal internal. Why a Glock 24? Why have a 6-inch barrel Glock? Well, for me, I love how ridiculous it is. It is just, it looks so absurd to have a 6-inch long barrel on this Glock, and I love it. I'm not a fan of the micro carry, the looks of them. Obviously, they have their purpose for carrying, but in terms of aesthetics, I'm not really a fan of any of the micro pistols. There's just something about a super long Glock that I love. In terms of shooting, having a Glock this long will limit you. It's the same with the 17L and the 40. No matter what competition you're in, you're almost always going to be restricted to open class. Doesn't matter if you have optics or irons. If they make a difference between open, iron, and optic, then you can pick your poison, but for the most part, you're almost always going to be in any open division. It's just too big, and for the 40 version specifically, this would be a fantastic version for really high level customization. Now, I don't have that kind of customization, right? I just have a cheaper Primary Arms SLX RS10, which I love, by the way. And, all of these upgrades that I have on it, minus the slide milling, is like at most a couple $100. It's really not that expensive. But if you custom load your ammo, you could get it shooting super soft and still be considered major. Because you have the 6-inch barrel, you have more chance for the bullet to gain extra velocity, meaning you will meet the major requirements sooner. So that is really important for a lot of high-end shooters. Of course, Glock triggers are not everyone's favorite. You're not going to compete with a 1911 trigger. Straight up, you're not going to do it. But maybe you just really like the look of the Glock and you want that extra low barrel, because it won't be as expensive as a high-end 1911, right? Customizing this to the nth degree is not going to be $10,000. It'll be like $5,000 to $7,000. But when we're talking thousands of dollars, right, that makes a difference. Of course, this one is not ported, but this cut comes from the factory. You can get a ported one from the factory, or if you can find one, because I don't believe they make any right now, or they haven't done a production run in a while. But you can always get your barrel ported. Now, viewers of the channel will recognize this Glock and this barrel specifically. So, I did a review of this Glock using this barrel. However, I've made that video unlisted because, quite frankly, a lot of what I said there is out of date. I was not as informed as I was now, and I think this is a better video in general. Now, what is this barrel? This, as you can see, is a 40 to 9mm conversion barrel. Now, it is commonly known, for the most part, if you didn't know, now you know, that you can take a 40 caliber Glock, get a conversion barrel. You can't place just any 9mm Glock barrel. It has to be a specific conversion barrel because it's essentially a bull barrel, and put it into your 40 Smith & Wesson Glock and shoot 9mm out of it. Now, it will work with the 40 extractor and what's it called? This thing. I don't know why I'm blanking on the name of this thing. You can swap the 9mm extractors and stuff for the 40 stuff if you want, but it will work with just the 40 as well. However, there is a caveat to this. The 17L and the 24 have very different slides. Now, obviously, 40 caliber is more powerful than 9mm. That means that the slide doesn't need to be milled the same way. Now, as you can see in this slide, it basically just looks like a normal Glock slide, but very long. If you take a look on the inside of a 17L slide, you'll notice there are really deep recessed pockets in the back here, and that's to allow the slide to properly cycle. 9mm ammo just will not cycle through this unless it is super hot ammo that makes it into major territory, or you get serious slide cuts. But if you do that, you won't be able to direct mill an optic. That's a problem with the 17L. They need optic plates in order to mount optics to. Now, this is not something I knew when I bought this barrel, and to be quite frank, it took me way too long to find out why it wasn't working. So, I will say this. As a PSA, don't buy a 40-9 barrel for the Glock 24. It's not worth it. Yes, you could run a lighter spring, but even a lighter spring is not going to account for the difference that the huge milling of the slide will make. It's just too heavy of a slide. And really, I don't know why KKM manufactures these. There's no warning on them, which, user error for not knowing, absolutely. These barrels seem very strange to me. I don't know why they exist. But if you want, Glock frames are basically all the same. Now, not all of them, but in the certain classes. The 40 and 9mm full-size frames, obviously Gen 1 to 3, 4 alone, 5 alone, those are the generations are on their have their category, but within the generations, the 9 and the 40 will work with any of the full-size frames. Same goes for the compact ones, the 19 and the 23, I believe. So if you wanted to, you could take a Gen 3 17L or a Gen 2 17L slide and just pop it on this frame, and you'd be good to go. Same goes for any 22L conversion kits or a 17 flat or whatever you wanted that fits the full-size slides. I will have a 22LR conversion kit video coming out soon. What is it like to shoot one of these? Well, whether you're shooting in 9mm or in 40, the one thing you will notice for sure is that it is really easy to keep this thing on target. Now, what I mean by that is you're still going to have recoil. Don't for a second think that you're not going to experience recoil. But because the slide is so long, it makes it really easy to keep it pointed in the direction that you want. You can easily hit rapid shots. Of course, it's going to be easier if you use 9mm versus 40, but really, if you miss, which you will see in some of the shots, that's entirely a skill issue. That's not the gun's fault. This gun really exposes any flaws that you have in your shooting. If you're a shit shot, you cannot blame the gun. The gun is damn accurate. You can only blame yourself. So, maybe it's a good training technique. If you want, you can see where you're going wrong, and you can fix it by using something like this. And those gains might be able to be translated to other non-gigantic Glocks. Now, I will make a quick mention of home defense or personal defense in general. Let's be honest. You're not conceal carrying this. I know this is an outer band thing, but, like, for real. You're going to have this sticking all the way down your pants? Only guys like Shaq would be able to conceal carry this. In terms of home defense, yeah, it's not bad. Whether it be the 17 or the 40, it's not bad. You just have to make sure that personal defense ammo runs through it. I haven't done that because in Canada, I'm not going to do that. If I'm going to pick a personal defense weapon of my collection, I'm picking the USP. But this absolutely could work at home defense. You have that extra little bit of velocity, so why not? One other use case for this, potentially, would be some of the PDW chassis. Now, I know US laws are a bit weird with the PDW chassis, but because it has such a long barrel, you essentially get a PCC, like an SBR PCC, if you just put this thing in a chassis. Now, you're not going to be able to mount the optics and stuff, but it would totally work as a PCC. And as a home defense gun like that, alright, I could see some use cases. I could absolutely envision a scenario where you go to the range, you use it in a competition format like this, you come home, you plop it into a chassis, and you get a really nice home defense gun. That would totally work. Or if you train enough with it, obviously you can just use it as a normal handgun. But I think in terms of versatility for the jobs it can do, it's not bad. Basically, the only thing it can't do is conceal carry. So, that is it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I will have a video on a 22 LR conversion kit for the 17, and, well, the 17/22/ whatever, all the full-size frame ones. And I will also have a video coming out about the Viz 100 again. So, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day.